What's up, my comic comrades, and Happy New Year. First and foremost, we hope your holiday was awesome and that 2023 is the best year you've ever had. And to kick off the new year properly, we're bringing you guys our annual look at the most anticipated things coming to Geekdom in the year ahead. That means we're going to talk about all the comics, movies, and TV shows we're most excited for in 2023. Let me tell you, there are a lot of great nerdy things being released this year, but we're going to highlight the biggest ones that we're most excited for. So let's see what 2023 has in store. As is only fitting for variant, we're gonna lead off with the biggest titles and events coming to comics in 2023, starting on Marvel's side. First up, we have a new event that actually launched in December that has rolled into the new year, and that is the Spider-Man X-Men Dark Web event. This crossover series involves several Spider-Man books and a Dark Web X-Men series. The premise of this series is that two of Marvel's most famous clones, Ben Reilly and Madeline Pryor, will team up under the names Goblin Queen and Chasm to reignite the embers of Inferno as they go up against Spider-Man, the X-Men, Venom, Miss Marvel, and more. The event runs from December to February, and being the massive Spider-Man and X-Men fan that I am extremely excited. Next up, we have X-Men Sins of Sinister, which is kicking off this month and running until April. Simply put, it's a crossover event focusing around a dark future brought about by Mr. Sinister. It's kind of an homage to the Age of Apocalypse storyline, with Mr. Sinister as the focal point, taking place 10 years in the future in a timeline ruled by Mr. Sinister, which is made in his own image. I've been really digging Mr. Sinister lately, specifically his appearance in Judgment Day, so I cannot wait for this. Next, we have Captain America Cold War, which kicks off in April. This is a story and event celebrating the 80-year history of the Star-Spangled Hero. Marvel says it will be a combination of threats, battles, and mysteries that have been at the center of both Steve Rogers and Sam Wilson's adventures since the start of this new era. It's a series that will celebrate Captain America in general, both the OG Steve Rogers and Sam Wilson version. Then in summer of 2023, we have Summer of the Symbiotes, but as of now, we don't know too much about it. We just know it's going to have Venom, Carnage, and a bunch more symbiotes. And it's most likely going to introduce new symbiotes and aspects to their mythos. Then lastly, we have Fall of X, also releasing this summer. Now, Marvel hasn't released basically any details on this event yet, but we do know that the storyline will potentially deal with the X-Men facing the end of Krakoa, which is more than enough for me to jump on board. But with that said, let's jump over to DC. First up for DC, we have the title New Golden Age by Jeff Johns. The one-shot from this actually came out early in November, but the series is going to carry over into 2023. The solicit reads as follows: from the Justice Society of America to the Legion of Superheroes. In the New Golden Age, you unlock DC's epic and secret written history of heroism, launching a new group of titles set firmly in the DC universe. In the aftermath of Flashpoint Beyond, those heroes and villains will have their lives turned upside down. Essentially, this series is going to help bring the DC universe into a new golden age, setting up a new status quo and giving us new monthly titles. I gotta say, I can think of no one better to do this than Jeff Johns. Then seemingly spinning out of the New Golden Age and Dark Crisis by Josh Williamson, we have what DC is calling Dawn of the DCU. DC announced after Dark Crisis on Infinite Earths issue 7, the final issue of the event series will feature what the company is calling Dawn of the DCU, which is meant to bring in a new era and home for Batman, Superman, and the rest of the Justice League. Basically what I'm saying is we will be seeing a new era for DC this year, which is hopefully going to be the last reset for a while. Writer Josh Williamson was even quoted saying, "This whole event started with a death, so here we end with life." Our first issue shows why the DC universe is at its best when it's adding and growing the mythology. So hopefully this reset finally puts DC Comics in a good place once and for all, so we don't have to keep rebooting every single year. Then we also have the Mark Waid event, Lazarus Planet. The tagline for this series says, "Heroes transformed. Secrets revealed, powers unleashed." All I know is the images they released so far show Batman wearing the helmet of fate, a Nightwing-looking Superman, and a Martian Manhunter Doomsday thing, so I'm in. And lastly, in 2023, DC will be launching a new era for Superman and several other Kryptonians, which is kicking off in Action Comics 1050. This new era for Superman will focus and expand Superman's family, as well as end the Superman Son of Kal-El ongoing series and start 2 brand new Superman titles. It's also rumored that Superman is going to get a power boost after absorbing Dark Crisis energy in the Dark Crisis event. So very curious to see what happens there. Essentially, 2023 is going to be completely reshaping the DC universe. But with that said, let's jump out of the world of comics and into the world of Star Wars TV, aka Disney+. So there is a hell of a lot of Star Wars TV coming down the pipeline this year, and all of it is exclusive to Disney+. First up, we got Bad Batch Season 2, which is dropping in a couple of days, January 4th to be exact. I, for one, am extremely excited for this series. I absolutely love the first season and now consider it part of the Star Wars animated trinity consisting of the Clone Wars, Rebels, and Bad Bad Batch. I can't wait to see where the season takes Bad Batch and what happens with Crosshair, as the end of season 1 finished with him not reuniting with them, but also not being completely at odds with them. Then on March 1st, we have the Star Wars show most people are excited for. I know it's certainly the one I'm most excited for, and that is The Mandalorian Season 3. Let's be real here, this is the series that brought Star Wars live action back in a big way. Because the sequel trilogy split the fandom right down the middle. While Mando had everyone on the same page agreeing this was absolutely awesome. And as we've seen in the trailers, Mando is returning to Mandalore with the Darksaber, and they're going to be introducing a bunch more Mandalorians, so I can't wait. Then in spring, we have the brand new animated series Young Jedi Adventures. At the time of shooting this, we haven't seen a teaser trailer yet, only promotional art. But I can tell you one thing, my 5-year-old daughter is going to absolutely love this series. She's already a fan of the Clone Wars and Tales of the Jedi, and I think she's gonna love this too, as this is directed right to her age range. So this is gonna be a fun Star Wars show to enjoy with your younglings. Also returning is Star Wars Visions Volume 2. I'm a big fan of anime and a massive fan of Star Wars, so when you merge the two together, I'm all in. Season 1 or Volume 1 was really good. There were some episodes that were better than others, as it was an anthology series. But nonetheless, I'm really excited to see what stories Volume 2 is gonna give us. Then we probably have my second most anticipated Star Wars show of the year, and that would be Ahsoka. She's easily one of my top 3 favorite Star Wars characters, and Rosario Dawson does a fantastic job playing her. Also, the series is gonna be run by Dave Filoni and Jon Favreau, so all signs are pointing that this series could be just as good as Mando, which I surely hope so. This series is also gonna give us live action versions of Hera and Ezra Bridger. Then after that, we are getting The Skeleton Crew, which is a brand new live action Star Wars series, also coming from Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni. The series is starring Jude Law and is about a group of children finding their way home after being lost in space. Some people are describing it as Goonies meets Star Wars, which is an absolutely fantastic description. Then rounding out the year for Star Wars TV is The Acolyte. The show is about a former Padawan who reunites with her Jedi Master to investigate a series of crimes. But the forces they confront are more sinister than they ever anticipated. The series is said to be a mystery thriller that will take viewers into a galaxy of shadowy secrets, and the emerging dark side powers in the final days of the High Republic, meaning this is going to deal heavily with the Sith. There's even rumors we might see some fan favorite Siths from the books like Malak and Bane. But that rounds out Star Wars TV for the year, so now let's jump into Marvel Studios. Kicking off the year for Marvel Studios is Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania in February. This movie looks like a lot of fun. It is finally giving us a fully realized version of Kang the Conqueror. And I'm telling you right now, Jonathan Majors as Kang the Conqueror is going to kill it. That brief performance of him as a variant of Kang at the end of season 1 of Loki was incredible. So I cannot wait to see what he does with a fully realized Kang the Conqueror. This movie is going to set the tone for Phase 5, so it sort of has a lot riding on its shoulders. Then after that, we get What If Season 2 on Disney+. I really enjoyed the first season. Infinity Ultron was one of the coolest alternate versions of a character we've seen. Plus, it was a great way to see Chadwick Boseman voice T'Challa one last time. And also, I'm a big fan of alternate realities and different versions of characters, so I really dug it. It'll be interesting to see what alternate versions Season 2 introduces. Then in early 2023, we have the Secret Invasion series. This series has potential to change and shift the course of the MCU a lot. It could reveal that a bunch of heroes and villains we've loved so much over the years in the MCU were actually Skrulls all along. Also, Emilia Clarke is in this series, and I'm a massive fan of her. I mean, she's the mother of dragons. Then after that, in May, Marvel's returning back to the theaters with Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. This will be the last James Gunn Guardians of the Galaxy film, and potentially the last Guardians film. It's rumored that they're going to be killing a bunch of original Guardians off, possibly setting up a new version of the team for the future. It's also going to be the introduction of Adam Warlock into the MCU. We've been waiting for him for years now, so it's going to be fun to actually see him on the big screen. Then we have the Echo Disney Plus series coming out mid-year, which is said to have appearances from Daredevil and Kingpin, and so far I'm really digging both Daredevil and Kingpin in the MCU. I think most of us can agree the Daredevil episode from She-Hulk was by far the best episode of that season. And although his appearance was very brief in Hawkeye, Kingpin was great as well. Also coming out sometime mid-year, we have the return of what is arguably considered to be the best Disney Plus Marvel series to date, Loki. At the time of shooting this video, not much is known about Loki Season 2, but again, it's widely considered to be the best Marvel Disney Plus series to date, so of course, everyone is looking forward to it. Then we have The Marvels coming out in July, which is a sequel to Captain Marvel. It will be starring Captain Marvel and Miss Marvel, picking up from that post-credit scene at the end of Miss Marvel Season 1. This is the Marvel Studios project I am least excited for, as I'm not a big fan of either of the characters. I know a lot of people like them, and that's great. I wish I was in that boat, but unfortunately, I'm not. After this, towards the back half of the year, we have the Ironheart series on Disney+. Plus. Now I gotta say, before seeing Ironheart and Wakanda Forever, I wasn't really excited for this series. Don't get me wrong, I dig Riri Williams, she's cool in the comic books, but I wasn't sure about how the MCU was gonna handle her. But they handled her well, so this series should be interesting. I just hope they somehow connect her more with Tony Stark than what we saw in Wakanda Forever. After this, we have X-Men 97, the animated series, which is literally a continuation or sequel to the iconic 90s X-Men animated series. I mean, do I really need to say anything else? And closing out the year for Marvel Studios is Agatha Coven of Chaos in late 2023 or possibly early 2024. I dug Agatha in WandaVision, but we'll just have to wait and see to see if she can hold her own solo series. So that's it for Marvel Studios this year, but we have two other Marvel projects done by Sony that we're also getting. First one being the sequel to the greatest Spider-Man film ever made, which is Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. I'm just a massive fan of this franchise, and the fact that they're going to be giving us Spider-Man 2099 voiced by Oscar Isaac and a bunch of other versions of Spider-Man is great, continuing the epicness that was the first film. And lastly, we have Kraven the Hunter by Sony, which is a Kraven solo film that's going to be connecting to Morbius, Venom, and all the other Sony Spider-Man themed movies. Kraven will be played by Aaron Taylor Johnson, who I love, and we also know him as Quicksilver in the MCU. But I gotta be honest, I'm not the biggest fan of the Venom movies and definitely not Morbius, so I don't really have high hopes for this film. But that wraps up Marvel for movies and TV, meaning you know where we have to go next, the DC Universe. For those of you who didn't know, the DCEU or DC Extended Universe has been renamed to the DCU or DC Universe, which should have been the name from the jump. With that said, the DCU has 4 films as of now slated for this year. First one up is Shazam! Fury of the Gods, dropping in March. I think most of us can agree the first Shazam film was one of the best films that the DC Extended Universe had to offer, meaning most of us are extremely excited for the sequel. The film just looks bigger and better than the first, but there is a whole heck of a lot of changes going on at DC right now, so who knows where this is going to end up. After this, we have the highly controversial Flash solo movie starring Ezra Miller. Obviously, we all want Ezra gone as the Flash, but unfortunately, we're gonna have to get through seeing Ezra as the Flash one last time. After this, they will undoubtedly be recasting. Now, I know a lot of people are wanting to boycott this movie because of Ezra Miller, but I mean, this movie is also giving us the return of Michael Keaton as Batman, and for me, that's enough to get me in the seat. I mean, it's Keaton Batman. I have to see that. I feel like my Batman fan card would be revoked if I didn't. Then in August, we have Blue Beetle, which I'm looking forward to, but at the time of shooting this, we pretty much have no information on it, just a poster. Then in December, we have Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom, which is the sequel to DC's most successful extended universe film yet. In any case, while the first Aquaman wasn't perfect, I personally thought it was a ton of fun, and since it made so much dang money, I'm gonna assume most people agree with me. At this point, considering all the changes going on with James Gunn and DC Studios right now, this movie seems a little irrelevant, but it's gonna be fun to watch nonetheless. It's also worth noting that Jason Momoa will be transitioning from Aquaman to Lobo in the DCU, which is definitely the character he should have been playing from the start. I mean, he's pretty much perfect for that role, but that's neither here nor there. But that wraps up DC's live action films for 2023, at least as of now. Now, there's a lot more we can get into with DC animated films and cartoon series, but with so many changes going on at DC Studios right now, we're just gonna leave it alone. But as for other nerdy content coming out this year that we're excited about, here's a quick rapid fire. We're gonna be getting a John Wick 4 starring the great Keanu Reeves. Then Indiana Jones 5 is coming out, The Last of Us on HBO Max series starring Mando himself, Pedro Pascal, Avatar: The Last Airbender, the live-action adaptation on Netflix, Creed 3 starring Killmonger and King the Conqueror, the Super Mario Bros. Animated movie starring Chris Pratt and Jack Black, just to name a few, Dungeons & Dragons: Honor Among Thieves starring Chris Pine, Tom Cruise's Mission Impossible: Dead Reckoning Part 1, Dune Part 2, a sequel to the Ghostbusters Afterlife series, which I'm super excited for, and The Witcher Season 3. It's also rumored that Cavill will be taking a role in the House of the Dragon series for Season 2 on HBO Max. But that wraps up our look at the most exciting things coming in geekdom this year. I'm sure we left out some stuff that you're excited for, so let us know what you are looking forward to most this year down in the comments. And that's going to bring today's episode of Variant to a close, but if you dug this episode, check out this one right here. And if you like all of our content, like, subscribe, and comment. It helps the channel out. But other than that, I'll see you guys next time when I talk about all things comics.